Hello everyone and welcome to the second chapter of our E39 project. Now, as you may remember from the first video that we did on this car, I mentioned that I'm not particularly excited about this wood trim, or indeed this silver grey headlining, which just introduces too many colors into this cabin. So we've got the purple and the black, and then you have the silver on top. Makes no sense at all. I'm choosing here to dye this particular headliner in black to match the top of the dash and the door panels, for example, and make it blend in a bit more with the cabin, because now it's like really top and bottom separated. Doesn't look very nice at all. So when you're doing a headliner dye, unfortunately there's more than the headliner that is silver on the top of the cabin. For example, we have the sun flap here, which is in the same silver grey. And then we have these kind of light frames and other plasticky things. And now luckily in this car, most of the buttons that are integrated into the headlining, they are without any description, and they're already black. So, and these fans here as well. And when we're going to be painting all of this and the plastics in black, that's already going to be matched afterwards, so that's good, nice. This one we're going to use a vinyl dye on as well, not just any auto paint, and for the plastic bits we'll use some auto paint, and then when we put it all back together, everything should be a uniform and tasty black. Now, just like on the outside, we're continuing the design theme in here as well, so I'm going to have some touches in the gloss black. And then when we're going to reinstall everything, the interior will match nicely to the outside. So when you're taking off the interior trim like the wood trim and the headliner, we're gonna need our trusty trim removal tools again. So for the headliner, if you have a car that has airbags hidden behind the headliner, you should always disconnect the battery first before you do any work. Maybe even leave it overnight so that you know that all the current is out of the system. Okay, so in order to take the wood trim out, yeah, we have to paint. If paint in car everything dirty, you go in and you pry like this, and they should pop out fairly easily. There you go. This one isn't plastic, actually, it's a metal one. Okay. Happy come here. You could also change them out, but then you're stuck with the factory options or maybe aftermarket ones. And if you refinish them yourself, you can do any finish you like. So that's the way we're going, and upgrade the interior really nicely. What the bloody hell are they doing, mate? Oh, sometimes they come flying out! So we've got this E39 with the standard tape desk radio stereo system, and it comes with this nice neat wood trim cover to cover up some extra settings and indeed the tape desk. But we're not gonna take this out. We're not even gonna paint it. And to know why, you will have to tune in next episode. So in most modern cars, the auto manufacturers like to hide the screws. Sometimes they're underneath the actual panel or underneath a small cap. And it's best to spend some time looking for the screws, because mostly if you give them a bit of a jerk to try and get them out without having found the screws, they will actually rip at least your trim and maybe also the support or the dashboard. So there we go. Unplug all the buttons that are in the way. Already something flying loose. So the center console came out with a bit of a struggle, but the wood piece is actually still attached to this backing plate, so gonna have to remove a bunch of screws to get to that. And then, apart from the gear stick, we are done with the wood. Ta-da! There we go. That's lovely. Yeah. Bam. There we go. Last piece of wood trim to be painted is out. So next on, let's remove the headline. So there is a clip here. You have to take it off. Yeah. Carefully pry this little sucker off. Oh, like that. So once you flicked off that little cappy there, you can then remove this bolt or screw. We'll find out what it is in a second. And that should liberate this piece of trim. It should slide out. Then it's a bolt.
They're not quite sure what it is, but they are devilishly intent upon it, after that thing. And so, to the person in the state of consciousness, which I call mystical, that all seems very weird.
And there we go, first piece of headliner. No, it's actually a A-pillar. So as you can see, the problem here is that the seat belt actually runs through the B-pillar trim, and having just made a bad experience in the back with the rear strut removal, you also had to take off the seat belts, as you saw in the previous video. I'm not gonna take this one out because in the back I managed to break the spring in the seat belt whilst removing it, and now one of them doesn't roll up and I have to replace it. So for this one, I'm gonna pull the seat belt out as far as it comes. This little gray thing here should pop out. 1 second. So with this now removed from the back side, pop this through and we can paint this part. We'll have to juggle it around and wrap the seat belt, but that gives us more space to paint this one, and then we'll put it back in the car without having removed the seat belt. To remove the headlining, we have to continue taking all the trim off. Just like on the A-pillar, you have to pull some caps and some trims like this one here, and take those out, and this will allow us to pull the entire headliner. I will get my adapter removal tool here, which works just as a screwdriver, only especially made for plugs, as you can see. Now, this little light here Looks so innocent, right? But look at the back side. All of this has to come off just so you can paint the framework. Just like I said before, most screws are hidden. And that's the same story here. They're hidden underneath this little cap here. Boom. And so we're gonna have to unclip and unscrew every single piece of trim that's holding the headliner in, and then we'll take the headliner out. This is becoming embarrassing. We got the headliner out of the car. It was a bit of a hassle, but worked out in the end. It's a little bit flexible, this material, so if you bend it a bit through the side door, the rear side door, it goes out quite fine. So we got a workbench set up, and you need some, if you care about your workbench, you need some protective foil. Also, I took a roll of tape to lift it up so that when we're spraying the edges, you have plenty of tolerance space to get under there with your spray. So for this particular job of your headliner, we're gonna use I'm gonna use a spray that's especially for textile. And the reason why you would want this is because if you wouldn't use a normal auto paint or spray paint, it would dry up in a hard way. Like, it wouldn't feel nice, and I want to keep that nice soft feeling that the headliner has. So that's why we're going this way. Preparation is with a brush. You want to flick out any of the dust particles and other dirt that is in the headliner. Usually, unless you've just done a very dirty job and you got greasy hands on your headliner, or you have something like a candy or I don't know what stuck to your headliner, then you would use a rubbing alcohol or something else to really clean that off. But usually it will be fine not to. So we're just gonna flick the dirt out and then lay over the paint. The nice thing about dyeing a headliner or any cloth is that the preparation is a lot easier and less important, let's say. Of course it's still important, but less important than when you're doing a panel, painting a panel, because over here you can simply just literally brush it and then we're pretty much ready to go. So make sure that you're in an area that's both well ventilated, but also where you have some control of the dust and so forth that's flying around, so you don't have too much landing into your headliner. But there's the other thing that I wanted to say, which is very nice about painting cloth or dyeing, is when you have one or two dust particles that do land in it, it's going to look basically like, if you give it another coat over that, like it's part of the material itself. So it's not that big of a deal. So the way to go about this is that you do the edges first and then you do the surface, because when you would do the usual way of painting with a spray can like you would on a panel, side to side, you wouldn't actually get the nice edges. And because it's cloth, the paint or the dye that's falling down will immediately settle, you know, it's not fogging out over the panel. So that's one. What was the second thing? Well, the second thing is I did some testing already on another trim piece, and it looks like we're going to need about 2 coats of this stuff to fully saturate it. Ta-da! It's black now. You have to build this up fairly slowly, because if you don't, then it tends to make a spot and dry hard on that spot. You can see it when you're going too fast, and the cloth becomes shiny at that part. But the other nice thing about this type of painting is, or dyeing, is that you can do it fairly unevenly, and you just keep going slowly until it's fully saturated. You don't have to paint it very neatly and evenly, because in the end all the fibers of the cloth have to be saturated. So you can really take your time and build it up very slowly and nicely, and it's going to look bellissima, bellissimo, perfect. So I think next up I'll do all the smaller A-pillar trims in the same method, and then we'll move on to the wood trim. So I let it dry overnight, and it came out black as the night. However, we still have a few trim pieces to take care of. They're still silver, and to do that I told before that I'm gonna take all of this out, but it looks like so snug in there, and it looks like these plastics have become brittle over time, that I decided to tape off the parts that I don't want the paint to come on. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. For this, you're gonna need an X-Acto knife, and a scalpel is nice because it's so thin that it fits between the edges. The tolerances in here are very, very tight, so this scalpel fits neatly in there, and usually a paper knife will not. So we're gonna need some tape, get a nice overlapping piece, another one. All right, and then you press it really firmly so that you can see the contour of the light to cut. And then you take your scalpel. Then these edges you have to be a bit careful to really follow the contour cleanly. Once you get that cut, you can start removing the tape, and as you can see, your light will be covered very neatly and very precisely. Alright, this one needs a bit more. That's the knife action. So, and so for these, it's the same story. So after it's all masked off, you can take a small piece of 600 grit sanding paper or scuff pad. Gives the light a small key for the primer to bite into. And then, as always, we're going to use a 3 stages process here. Of a primer that's suitable for plastics, and then a base coat and a gloss top coat, a clear coat. I'm gonna go with a rattle can this time for this application, because I don't want to have the pressure of the compressor blowing into the fine intricacies of this light mechanism. So just a rattle can will be fine for this job, and it's gonna look sublimo. So, time for panel wipe, and then it's time for paint. Gonna need a mouth protector, breathing protector for your painting activities, and then you just lay on the primer. So after a fairly thin first coat of primer, you can start to build it up a bit thicker. And voila. Okay, then we're gonna let this fully dry for around about 20 to 30 minutes and then hit it with the base coat. So it's time for the gloss top coat, clear coat, and once again want to lay it on wet. And so it came out with exactly the right amount of kitsch, like you would find in more modern cars. I actually quite like this look. It's very elegant in my opinion, even though it's a little bit kitsch, and I think in the black headliner it's gonna look very nice. So let's go ahead and put the headliner in. And so these are the wood pieces in question. We're going to sand them down to give them a bit of a key for the primer to stick onto, and then hit them with the gloss black and then the top coat. So let's go ahead and sand them down. Put the mouthpiece on. Alrighty, nice big piece here. So you can see if you're sanding, what happens is you get this matte and stickier surface for the primer to stick onto when you spray the whole area. So you just want to take the shine off of all your pieces, and then you end up with something looking like this, and then it's ready for the primer. As you may remember, I removed this piece of the center console in the car as well, and I showed you that there was some damage on the soft touch paint, and I thought it would be very nice to color code this to the rest of the trim and make it a gloss black as well. To remove this soft touch, you're gonna need some rubbing alcohol and a scuff pad, and you simply drench a bit into your scuff pad, like so, not too much, and then start rubbing this, and it should sort of dissolve this whole coating that's on there. As you can see, it's getting already very thick. It should dissolve that all, and then you can wipe that off in the end. Then when you wipe it off, it becomes very clean and shiny. After you're done sanding them to this nice dull finish, it's time to give them a wipe down with some panel wipe or a degreaser. Bye bye wood! As always, just fog on the first layer of primer. It's a camouflage look, yeah, and yet it's going to be the elegant look, yeah. So at this point, you have the choice to go for a Renault can for the clear coat, or to go for the compressor, which is what we're gonna do because it will match the factory deep gloss a lot nicer, and this is because it lays the clear on a lot thicker than a rattle can would. So that's what we're gonna do.
Touch me, 'cause if you do, baby, I touch you too.
I set up my paint gun just the same as I did in the episode about paint and finish, about the exterior. And first I'm gonna dust these off a bit with just some air. Then let's hit them with the paint. There you go. Here you can see where it goes. And here you can see E39 Nussbaum, which is German for walnut. Except, ta-da! Dry. It's not walnut anymore, it's piano black. Let's install it and see how it looks. Right. I'm getting there.
'Cause I got issues, but you got them too. So give them all to me, and I'll give mine to you. Bask in the glory.
Changed the look. It now looks very, very crisp, modern. Even a bit evil with this gloss black. Very impressed. Let's put the other pieces on.
I'm kinda over getting told to throw my hands up in the air. So there.
And here you can see how it compares. This one will go out the next episode. I wonder what will come instead here. Maybe something, this display here, maybe it will grow a bit. We'll have to find out. The wood is in, the headliner is black. I think we transformed this car inside. It looks a lot more up to date and it looks a lot more sporty. Or let's say more GT-like. The only thing left now is to do that rather curious piece of walnut that remains in the center there. That's something for next episode. Bye bye.